All right, that's live. This is just an extra bonus live. Apologies if it was showing up that it was starting at 5 o'clock. In terms of, I tried to put up a preemptive that I was going to do this live today. But I've received a few messages actually. This message I received quite some time ago, and it's in regards to obviously the BRS war crimes allegations and the impending trial and all that sort of thing. And this has popped back up because I think some of my recent uh, reactions and responses. So when I went and looked at this and then saw the comms, so I'll read through some of the comms that I received in regards to this first little document that I'll go through anyway. So this person sent through, I'm not going to give their name or any of that sort of thing or their email. So I'm just looking back at the email. Hey, Joe, or hi, Joe, I had a few questions. So I put them through the chat and nutted out what I could. This is the best I can do. So this was something that unsolicited, this person has been kind enough to follow my channel for a little while, and yeah, has sent through some messages and stuff in the past and recently. And so anyway, they've gone about this off their own back, not from me. Also, I received a message from Aaron Patrick, the I think the journo that wrote that article that I did a reaction to. So he sent through a message to me on IG. I don't think there's any problem with me saying that out loud. But when it comes to, I don't know, I guess people like the person who has sent this through, I tend to leave them out of it. So I won't share what Aaron Patrick's messaged me about. I'll just leave that where it is. But yeah, so I've had a few little working parts in and around the place, I guess, on the back end of some of the recent reactions. And this one, although I had received this a little while ago, uh, I went through, did a search because I wanted to get back to and respond to some of the people that I haven't replied to, that have taken time to send me emails, and then I haven't been able to get back to them at this stage, just because of, you know, that trying to work things into existence in my own little space here on social media, and or dare I say, I think Gary V describes it as interest media. So in terms of the phase or the stage in which we're in at the moment, this interest media stage or whatever it's called. Anyway, what's he got? He says here, the document I've done up is because, as I stated, I had questions. Things didn't add up or make sense to me, so I wanted to find out some details. Obviously, they've used, I think, Chat GPT or Gemini to pump in their questions and then get a bit of a download. And then they put it together, or this person put it together and sent it through to me. He's got here, it's based on only what I can find online through GPT searches. So there you go. I am unsure of its accuracy, but I did drill down on each of my questions multiple times to ensure they were verified by the searchers each time. And I responded to them in different ways multiple times to test answers. So what you read is all pulled from what we know, apparently. I did not make things up or imply things. I just asked questions and cross referenced those questions and asked other questions to see if other aspects of what is known fitted answers or not. As I said, best I can do, brain is tired. It's got here, you've mentioned multiple times your connection and your stance based on your critical thinking. He's got here, I would say, maybe critical thinking, maybe biased thinking, which I've mentioned. You know, I do have a strong bias in the case of my friend looking to defend himself, which has been Robert Smith, in regards to the war crime allegations that have been made against him. But we'll get into this this little doc. I think it's 13 pages. Is it 13? Oh, where's the? Yeah, it is 13 pages. So we'll get to that. Uh, I hand this to you for educational reading purposes, um, or for educational reading purposes. It outlines how you should read it, also, and how to handle it. Once more, it's just reading material, educational reading material. The motto, as the motto says, go always a little further. So I thought that was a nice little touch there from this gentleman who has taken the time to send this through. So I am going to run through it and read through it at this time. And I'm going to read it from like woe to go. So educational use guide for review of defense framework. Purpose of this document. This material is provided solely for educational purposes. Its intent is to illustrate how evidentiary gaps, apologies if I get any words wrong, testimonial reliability and operational ambiguities affect legal analysis in complex high stakes situations such as military operations. It is not intended as legal advice, does not constitute a legal submission, and is not a formal defense strategy. Scope and content. The framework demonstrates how evidence is evaluated in criminal proceedings, including the significance of physical and forensic evidence, the challenges posed by ambiguous operational logs and euphemistic terminology, I think is what that means, or is what that's saying, the reliability of witness testimony, including potential distortions caused by trauma or undiagnosed PTSD, distinctions between civil and criminal evidentiary standards. And I think I've seen some of that when I did that search for the benefit of Hammerhead Head, Hammerhead 27, when he said you haven't even Googled it. And so I did Google if BRS has been found guilty of war crimes, and the simple and short answer is no. But then it went on to talk about that that civil defamation case and having a lower burden of proof required in order to, on the balance of probabilities, blah, 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 whatever it was that it said. I did it on a live video anyway, so it's on my channel, so people can check it out if they want to. And then this person has sent this through. How systemic findings and reports do not automatically imply individual liability. The content is based entirely on publicly available information as of April 2026, including civil proceedings and media reports, which is what the person who's been kind enough to, or is taking the time. Yeah, kind enough. And has taken the time to send this through anyway. And gone about and pumped in some questions into GPT, they've said in their email, and then it spat this out for them and they've put it together and sent it to me. Intended use: to provide a structured approach to understanding evidentiary reasoning in complex scenarios, to serve as a learning tool for reviewing and analyzing interactions between evidence, testimony, and legal standards, to encourage critical thinking about the relationship between operational documentation, witness recollection, and legal proof. What I should have said before I started this video was a shout out to my not sponsor, Waimanuka, proudly not sponsored, I should say, by Joe Hudaweda and the team at Waimanuka. So if you don't know, now you know, get you some. I don't know if they're in Australia, those that have asked. Not yet. I think 3 to 6 months away. But they're here in NZ and it tastes good. That's the truth. Just because I'm not drinking it right now, it's because I'm not thirsty right now. Anyway, where was I up to? I think I just read this part. Intended use. Is that what I read? Analyzing to encourage critical thinking. Or did I just finish this part up here? Holy heck, which part did I just finish reading? Intended use. I think I just read this part here. Oh, hang on. Let me just check this. Dan Kidd. Hey, Joe. Hey, brother. You've got hey, guys. I don't know if there's anybody else, but there may be. Where are we up to? So I'm going to jump over to here. See, there's that part there. Liability and safe sharing guidelines. This document must not be shared with judges, lawyers, courts, or any official legal body, as it is not a legal submission and could be misinterpreted as such. Well, I'm sharing it with whoever's on my channel. Sharing with anyone involved in ongoing legal proceedings could be viewed as unauthorized influence, which may carry legal or civil consequences. Well, I don't think that applies to what I'm doing here. If it does, bloody hell, there's already been a whole bunch of influence on the civil or legal proceedings of Ben Robert Smith anyway, by the sounds of things, based on what the media's already put out there. So I don't think this little GPT document is going to upset the apple cart based on what this person has through to me. Safe recipients are RS himself, trusted friends or colleagues, individuals reviewing the content strictly for educational or analytical purposes. Oh, there you go. There's our disclaimer. This is educational or analytical purposes. The document should not be used to support or argue any legal case, nor cited in any formal proceeding. So I haven't read this document. I'm just going off the person that has, as I mentioned at the start, has been following my channel, supported me for a while, and has sent this through. So I read bits and pieces of their email just at the start before getting into this, and we'll carry on and go through. I did have a quick look because I thought, oh man, if this is like 100 pages, it's going to take me ages, but it's only 13, so I should be all right. And it seems to be well spaced out as I have a look at the screen. 5 of 13. Key reminders for readers. This material is hypothetical and analytical, intended only to show how evidence, testimony, and logs are evaluated in legal contexts. Okay. I assume that's all just taken from AI GPT. It highlights that witness statements may be imperfect or influenced by trauma. That's a fair point. And that operational logs may be ambiguous or non-specific. Also, another good point. Its value lies in learning and critical thinking, not influencing or substituting for legal processes. Great point. So anybody that may be on here thinking that I'm reading through a document which is intended to highlight um, and prove or disprove that the allegations are true or untrue, well, don't think that and stop being a retard. Hemorrhoid head, hammerhead 27. If you start thinking like that and you get butt hurt over what it is that I'm reading here, well, just give yourself 100 uppercuts anyway, just for being a twat. Anyway, clearly marking the document as educational use only protects both the author and the reader from potential misinterpretation. There you go. Don't misinterpret it. Educational, it's got a hypothetical and analytical intended only to show evidence, testimony, and logs are evaluated, or how evidence, testimony, and logs are evaluated in legal contexts. So yeah, people don't go getting your knickers in a twist. Defense Framework, BRS, Evidentiary and Legal Argument. Introduction. The defense submits that the prosecution cannot prove the charges against the accused beyond a reasonable doubt. Allegations of, and so, yeah, that's going to be a hard thing, I think, to do. I think I've shared that throughout my videos. I am not sure how, and I don't particularly care, not sure how the prosecution is going to be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that higher burden and higher level of evidence and proof is required, as opposed to what was done in the defamation case. So we'll see. Anyway, allegations of unlawful killings rely primarily on testimonial claims and ambiguous operational logs. With no confirmed crime scenes, we've heard the OSI, I think, when he was with the female AFP commissioner, talking about that they can't access the site and all that sort of thing. So primarily on testimonial claims and ambiguous operational logs with no confirmed crime scenes, recovered bodies, or forensic evidence. So we've heard that, and it sounds like the prosecution doesn't have any of that. The evidentiary record is therefore insufficient to establish direct criminal liability. I think I've shared from the start too, it sounds like they're just running purely off um, the witness accounts, which there's a whole bunch of. If you haven't watched the Sam Bamford interview with Scott Jones, there's a whole bunch of, on the Two Worlds Collide podcast, there's a whole bunch of contradictory um, testimony, and you can hear that in some of the other, or one of the other YouTube channels. It's got the transcripts of the different parts of the trial, the defamation case it is, and then hearing the statements from different people, witnesses for the media and witnesses for RS. What have we got here? The evidentiary record is therefore insufficient to establish direct criminal liability. Oh, I think I might have just read that. Absence of an established crime scene. There is no formally documented crime scene for the alleged incidents in Afghanistan. Yeah, there's names of places, but there's no formally documented crime scene. I guess, like, if something happened in a location where they'd have the, dare I say, the chalk outlines and all that sort of stuff, I assume, is what this might be talking about. This little AI generated document that the bro has sent over. Was it? There is no formally documented crime scene for the alleged incidents in Afghanistan. Investigators have not recovered bodies, bullets, or other forensic material from the locations where these events allegedly occurred. Well, we've heard that as well. I think the guy next to the AFP female commissioner spoke to that as well, said words to that effect. Photographs referenced in civil proceedings exist, but they are civil evidence, not authenticated forensic documentation. Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah, so I don't know. I assume there's photos taken of Ali Jan. If they were taking photos of deceased persons during their time in Afghanistan. So I assume there's a whole bunch of photos and stuff there. But interesting, not authenticated forensic documentation, which to me makes sense because I doubt there would have been any police, Afghan or otherwise, in country doing crime scene investigations. That's the word I was looking for. What do we got here? The reliability of witness testimony, including potential distortions caused by trauma or undiagnosed PTSD. Well, apparently there was one of the witnesses in one of the reactions that I did, which, geez, I'm not sure if that's been blocked. I think it has been blocked. It was one of the ones that I did live. What was it? They didn't disclose like the type of medication or what was going on with him. Was it person 4? The guy that charged in the Battle of Tizak was like right there behind RS as well. Like just as, very brave as well. Can't say just as brave, but very, very brave. He received a Medal of Gallantry for his actions, which is awesome. But I think he was struggling and suffering with some, maybe PTSD, I'm not sure. Distinctions between civil and criminal evidentiary standards. How systemic findings in reports do not automatically imply individual liability. Their content is based entirely on publicly available information as of April 2026, including civil proceedings and media reports. Intended use. Oh, did I just have I gone back too far? I have already gone back too far. So apologies, peeps. I'm reading the same thing again. Absence of established crime scene. Is this the part that I was up to? This is investigators have not recovered bodies, bullets, or other forensic material from the locations where these events allegedly occurred. Photographs referenced in civil proceedings. Yeah, I read this as well, but are not authenticated forensic documentation. Or was that just a double up somewhere? Just came back. Nah, I just messed up and then just went back too far and started reading stuff again. Anyway, read that part. That was page 5. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah. So I think I'm not authenticated forensic documentation. There we go. Is it the right? Yeah, that's right on there. Oh, sorry. Hang on. What's on here? Well, I'm here, so that's all that matters. Yeah, that's right, Dan. Oxbridge, bad news, buddy. I'm a judge, and this is mine. Get him, sheriffs. Never mind. He got us with the it's only hypothetical loophole. Come back. He's a legal mastermind. That's my new workout program. 100 uppercuts every morning. 100 uppercuts, a bowl of dry wheat bix, and a cup of concrete. Yeah, snort cement directly after. Maybe get some of that drink into yourself, big boy. Yeah, so I can stay on track, instead of going back too far. Now, hang on. Now I need to check if I'm on the bloody right page again. Yes, now I am. The lack of an established scene prevents independent verification of alleged crimes and significantly limits forensic analysis. Well, if you're Hammerhead27 or Hemorrhoid Head 27, who may or may not be on this live, according to him, they've got the video footage which shows what happened. And as I've said, if there's that video footage, if that exists, that's got to be a slam dunk for the prosecution, surely. But also, what I would say, if the prosecution's got that evidence, how that somehow miraculously hasn't been leaked out into the media, out into the interwebs, out into YouTube already about RS committing these crimes, how that hasn't managed to be leaked out is beyond me. So I don't know that there is actual video footage, and hence why I say I think Hemorrhoid Head was just getting all caught up in the reenactment video that 60 Minutes and Dick McKenzie were putting together to try to support their narrative. Anyway, implication. The prosecution's claims rely entirely on testimony and operational logs without the benefit of standard crime scene evidence. And again, I think we've heard the Office of the Special Investigator talk about that with the AFP commissioner. So that'll be, interesting to see how this goes with proving beyond reasonable doubt that RS is guilty of 1, let alone 5 counts of war crime murder. Anyway, discrepancies between witness statements and operational logs, which we know there are discrepancies between witness statements. If there are operational logs, and if those operational logs or after action reviews have detailed what had happened, then that you would think would support the prosecution as well, and or if it doesn't, should support the defense, in this case RS. So anyway, witnesses allege that certain individuals were disarmed under control of Australian forces, exhibiting no hostile intent. Yep, we've heard that from the witnesses. Yeah. I'll try and refrain from slating them on my channel as much. Operational logs, however, actually I probably won't. The bloody gutless cowards. Anyway, operational logs, however, record only that individuals were neutralized or otherwise incapacitated. Operational logs, however, record only that individuals were neutralized or otherwise incapacitated. Yeah, that's interesting. Like that doesn't say a POW or anything like that. Individuals were neutralized or otherwise incapacitated. If that's what the operational logs show, I would think that that would serve in support of the defense. Like, I don't know how the prosecution uses those words, if those are the words that are used. Again, you would have thought that in the defamation case, if they had that sort of information from the reporting logs or after action reviews, that those would have been admitted as evidence into the defamation case as well to bolster up their chances of winning even more. So, unless they were just wait for the war crimes trial, who knows? No direct link exists connecting these logs to the individuals referenced in witness statements. Implication: either witness statements, logs, or both are incomplete or inaccurate. The inconsistency undermines the credibility of both sources. Interesting. Ambiguity of key terminology. Terms like neutralized or otherwise incapacitated are standard military euphemisms. I think that's euphemisms. These terms do not specify death, combatant status, or circumstances of incapacitation. Never looked at it that way. I think probably more so, or incapacitated. Yeah, I don't interpret that as somebody who has been killed. But neutralized, yeah, I suppose neutralized could be seen the same way. Typically, when I've heard and or when the term neutralized has been used from an operator, it usually means that they're no longer alive. The threat has been neutralized, so they're no longer breathing, no longer living. Yeah, interesting. Okay, euphemisms. Yeah. Anyway, but too technical for my little brain. These terms do not specify death, combatant status, or circumstances of incapacitation. Yeah, interesting. Probably be something for the prosecution to, I suppose, ask the more specific, direct questions, I guess. Reliance on such ambiguous language cannot establish criminal conduct under law. Okay. Absence of physical and forensic evidence. No recovered bodies, no verified bullets or weapons linked to alleged victims, and no blood or forensic samples exist publicly. Without physical evidence, the prosecution cannot independently verify that any unlawful killing occurred or that the accused personally carried out any act. Investigators have repeatedly cited the practical impossibility of crime scene verification in remote war zones as a limiting factor. As I mentioned, the guy from the OSI has already, as it says in here, in this GPT created document from one of the supporters of my channel, has already, uh, I guess, laid out. What do we got here? Just out of curiosity, if you are getting engaged and you shoot someone you think has a gun, but turns out to be a broom or something, what is the outcome of that? No bad intent, but a genuine mistake. Yeah, I mean, so to your question, your curiosity, if you are getting engaged, so if rounds are coming at you, and it's from the vicinity of where, unfortunately, in the example that you're putting here, somebody's just got a broomstick and you know, but the rounds that are coming towards you are coming from that area, and you engage back in that area because you believe that whatever the person's holding is foolish enough to be holding up a broomstick towards you while there's also bullets coming from that area, and you drop them. Well, there's no um, what's the word I'm looking for? That's not murder. Like bullets coming from there, unless the operator can clearly identify that that person over there pointing the broomstick at me, unless they can positively identify that that's a broomstick, then they're probably not going to engage that person. They're going to be trying to identify where the actual bullets are coming from when you're talking about being engaged, Dan. What would be the fallout of that if that person with the broomstick who's in the vicinity of the people with the enemy guns are shooting at you and they happen to get dropped in the course of that? Potentially, what is it? Collateral damage. Um, could they have been used as a shield by the enemy? Like there's a whole bunch of too many what ifs, and how long's a piece of string otherwise. But if it's depending on the distance and you can't clearly identify it, the person, and they are foolish enough to be going like this, but they're just holding a broomstick or some sort of stick up, what appears like in a shooting position, and they're directing it at you, but you can't clearly ID it, well, you're going to be shooting rounds back at that person. So I don't imagine anybody, yeah, can't say I've heard of anybody raising a broomstick apart from us when we were kids running around. Even then, I didn't have a broomstick. It's like my finger or like little branches and sticks off a tree running around, something that kids might do. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. No bad intent, but a genuine mistake. Yeah, I mean, again, depending on what the other situation is, good faith. In good faith. Yeah, possibly that might be the term as well. Where was I up to? Investigators repeatedly practice crime scene remote. Well, yes, I read that. Uncertainty regarding victim status and threat. Named victims in civil proceedings were not officially recorded as POWs or detained combatants in publicly available military records. Named victims. Well, I don't know. Was Ali Jan? I think he was named by the witnesses only as so the witnesses for the witnesses against RS. I think they named him as a POW or as a person under control, so a detainee. Because this has got here named victims in civil proceedings were not officially recorded as POWs. I don't know, unless they mean there's no actual document in any after action review or something like that, or patrol report. Maybe that's what it means. Not officially recorded as POWs or detained combatants in publicly available military. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm with you now. In terms of what this GPT report is saying. So there seems to be no official record of these 5 people, which RS has been accused and charged with war crimes murder. There seems to be no record of 5 POWs or detainees or persons under control on any publicly available military records. Even if they were combatants, Scott here, witnesses allege they were disarmed and under control at the relevant time, which is inconsistent with active combatant status and would typically classify them as prisoners of war under international law. So I suppose with that, yep, I understand what that's saying. So when they get back after action review reports, has that been documented as though these people were detainees in any reports? I don't know if it is. Maybe it was. Maybe it was reported that way. Because if it was reported that way in these after action reviews or these patrol reports post tasks when they come back, that would I assume that would potentially work in favor for the prosecution. But if there's nothing documented down again, hence why, I've been on the case of those bloody rejects that got the boot to 4 Squadron. Like, that's stuff that should be spoken about, brought up in your debrief, preferably in the moment, so to try to prevent anything like that from happening. But again, at least in the report after, or the patrol debrief, or, 12 hours, 24, 36, 48, 72 hours after, like not bloody years after the fact, or years after the alleged fact, I should say. Where are we? Even if combatants classify them as prisoners under internet. All right, so even if they were combatants, witnesses allege they were disarmed and under control at the relevant time, which is inconsistent with active combatant status and would typically classify them as prisoners of war under international law. No evidence exists showing imminent threat or hostile intent at the moment of death. No bodies have been recovered to independently confirm that deaths occurred. Oh, that's interesting. So maybe all those photos, maybe there were photos taken of these 5 alleged victims that RS has been charged with. So if there are photos taken of these people, I assume there are photos taken of them, then maybe that's what will be used, obviously, by the prosecution. But again, I don't think, based on what this is saying and what we are aware of, based on the OSI, it doesn't sound like or seem like there's been any forensic work done. So again, it's just a photo and what this person is saying based on their recollection versus what this person and or these people are saying based on their recollection. And because of that, I don't know how anybody comes to the conclusion or how a jury comes to the conclusion of beyond reasonable doubt. Yep, that's 100% beyond reasonable doubt. And there's just seems to be so many holes in the or contradictions in terms of the evidence, the for and against, prosecution and defense. What's this? Implication: the alleged killings, if they occurred, involved individuals who were reportedly no longer posing a threat, meaning that any claims of unlawful conduct cannot be established without direct evidence linking the accused to the acts. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. That makes sense to me though. Like if you're looking to prove beyond reasonable doubt that RS is guilty of 5 counts of war crime murder, even when these piss weak witnesses have said that on 3 occasions, or there's 4 of them that have got immunity, but 3 separate witnesses have said they were the ones that carried it out. But oh, that's because he told me to. Again, the cowardly, piss weak nature of my comments towards those twats. Um, the if there's no evidence there directly linking to those things, then I don't know how the beyond reasonable doubt will be proved or will be proven by the prosecution. Anyway, that's just me. Um, the lack of an established scene prevents independent verification of alleged crimes and significantly limits forensic analysis. Yeah, I think that's been spoken about enough. Implication: the prosecution's claims rely entirely on testimony and operational logs without the benefit of standard crime scene evidence. So I don't know what's in the operational logs. I don't know what they'll discover or find in those, if anything. Um, but yeah, it seems like it's witness testimony, which is contradicted by other witness testimony for RS's side, and then operational logs, which what I've read so far talks about euphemisms and that sort of thing, and there doesn't appear to be, at least as far as what we know right now, doesn't sound like there's any clear documentation of this person. Excuse me, Ali Jan, as an example, was a detainee, a person under control at the time when we were there, and then Ben Robert Smith allegedly, or Ben Robert Smith then executed him or whatever. I don't think, if there is, I'm sure those sort of documents and patrol reports and after action reviews would have been leaked into the media by now as well. So yeah, who knows what's in the logs. Discrepancies between witness statements and operational logs, which was spoken about. Witnesses allege that certain individuals were disarmed under control of Australian forces, exhibiting no hostile intent. Operational logs, however, record only that individuals were neutralized or otherwise incapacitated. No direct link exists connecting these logs to the individuals referenced in witness statements. So again, I think the defense for RS is going to have a have a reasonably comfortable time, I would imagine, without being a lawyer, in terms of all the pressure, and from what I've heard from other people talk about, all the responsibility rests with the prosecution being able to show a jury beyond reasonable doubt of not only 1 but 5 counts of what they allege to be war crime murder that Ben Robert Smith is guilty of. So they have to show that. They have to prove that beyond reasonable doubt, from what I understand anyway. There's lawyers in the house. What's his name? Oxbridge, you're a lawyer. You can explain. Oh, hang on. There's some bloody comments in here. My bad. That's what I thought. I guess it happens in war. Possibly, Dan. Thankfully, I never encountered anything like that sort of scenario. It's just a prank, bro. Gets canoed, poor boys in RAF 4 Squadron copying unfortunate strays. Kirk up, legit 50 Cent. What do you say? Track me for meme. The courts understand euphemistic language. You don't need to be hyper specific with your language about every little thing. Yeah, I would have thought that too. So that's a good point. Good call. What's this? How have those scumbags got immunity? I murdered a guy, but he told me to. That's ridiculous. Yeah, under international law, that's not even a defense. You can't use that as a defense. It's considered to be an unlawful command or an unlawful order. and you are expected to not obey unlawful commands or orders. So stand your ground, in other words, and you don't do that. And if you do, well then, and if these allegations are true, well then you suffer the consequences like the person that gave you the order because you didn't stand up to it or you didn't you chose to follow it instead. If it's true, you don't get to, I don't understand how people have made the decision to give 3 or 4 people immunity for their part in what they've done. Anyway, let's carry on here. Implication, witness statements, logs. Oh, did I read this already? Disarmed, read that. No direct link, read that. Implication, either witness statements, logs, or both are incomplete or inaccurate. The inconsistency undermines the credibility of both sources. Ambiguity of key terminology. Oh, bloody hell. Prosecution's claim on. No, I think I read that. Ambiguity of key terminology. Terms like neutralized or otherwise incapacitated are standard military euphemisms. These terms do not specify death, combatant status, or circumstances of incapacitation. Maybe I already read that as well. Reliance on such ambiguous language cannot establish criminal conduct under law. Absence of physical and forensic evidence, no recovered bodies, no verified bullets or weapons linked to alleged victims, and no blood or forensic samples exist publicly. Without physical evidence, the prosecution cannot independently verify that any unlawful killing occurred or that the accused personally carried out any act. Investigators have repeatedly cited the practical impossibility of crime scene verification in remote war zones as a limiting factor. Well, don't forget, this allegedly happened between 2009 and 2012. We're in 2026 now. So there's been no forensic evidence collected. And even if they wanted to, it's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to collect any. Like, even if they were able to go back into the country, even if the Taliban did say, hey, Aussie OSI, yeah, no worries, come on over, come back into the country. Yep, we'll show you where it is. Oh, we just happened to find where the bodies are too. Here, there you go. Yeah, maybe the OSI might just disappear and Taliban and go, no, we didn't. They didn't arrive. We told them to come, but they didn't arrive. We don't know what happened to them. Anyway, uncertainty regarding victim status and threat. Named victims in civil proceedings were not officially recorded as POWs or detained combatants in publicly available military records. It's a repeat. I think I've read that before. Even if they were combatants, witnesses alleged they were disarmed and under control at the relevant time, which is inconsistent with active combatant status and would typically classify them as prisoners of war under international law. No evidence exists showing imminent threats or hostile intent at the moment of death. No bodies have been recovered to independently confirm that deaths occurred. Implication, the alleged killings, if they occurred, involved individuals who were reportedly no longer posing a threat, meaning that any claims of unlawful conduct cannot be established without direct evidence linking the accused to the acts. Oh, did I just scroll too far? To the acts. There we go. The prosecution cannot satisfy the legal standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt in the absence of both physical evidence and demonstrable context for the alleged actions. So anyway, as I'm reading this, it seems like ChatGPT is on RS's side. Maybe that's because of the way this person has put their questions into GPT. But what did he say? He did say, the document I've done up is because, as I stated, I had questions. Things didn't add up or make sense to me, so I wanted to find out some details. It's based on only what I can find online through GPT searches. I'm unsure of its accuracy, so it's okay, it's a fair point, he said that. But I did drill down on each of my questions multiple times to ensure they were verified by the searches each time. And I reposed them in different ways multiple times to test answers. And then it's got, so what you read is all pulled from what we know, apparently, in terms of other articles and information that are on the interwebs. I did not make things up or imply things. I just asked questions and cross-referenced those questions and asked other questions to see if other aspects of what is known fitted answers or not. As I said, best I could do, brain is tired. Crack up. Hang on, let's go back to here. Potential impact of PTSD on witness testimony. Witness soldiers may have experienced undetected or undiagnosed PTSD or diagnosed as a result of their deployment and combat experience. PTSD can affect memory and perception, producing fragmented or incomplete recollection of events, stress induced distortions in perception, vivid but potentially inaccurate memories of traumatic incidents. And I think we've heard some of that in, if anybody watched the trial, is one of the reactions that I did again, that Guardian YouTube stuff, where I think one of the guys with his medication and things was talking about, some of the, I can't remember whether he said some of the bigger things were a bit vague or the smaller things. One of those, but he was adamant that he remembered the war crime or the unlawful killing stuff. So anyway, GPT makes a good point here in terms of PTSD. If any of those alleged witnesses have got PTSD and or are taking medication for such things, inaccuracies or contradictions in witness statements may therefore stem from trauma-related memory effects rather than deliberate falsehood. Possibly. Deliberate falsehood, inaccuracies due to PTSD. Yeah, I don't know. If it's that accurate and if it's that clear now, why wasn't it that accurate or clear back then? And if it was that accurate and that clear back then, why the truck didn't you do anything about it? Might sound repetitive, but it's I haven't heard any rational answers as to that yet. Some of the articles that I read, they're like, oh, his dad was a judge. He's a Victoria Cross winner. Well, no, he wasn't. Not in 2009, he wasn't. 2010, he was. 2011, 2012, yep. But still, that doesn't mean that that there's a free license to get away with whatever you want to do. And he's still subordinate. He's a corporal, for Pete's sake. He's not a blanket officer. He's not an OC. He's not the CO of the regiment. Anyway, implication. Witness testimony must be carefully evaluated, particularly in the absence of corroborating physical evidence. Discrepancies between statements and logs could reflect psychological impacts rather than intentional misrepresentation, reinforcing the evidentiary gaps. Evidentiary gaps in legal standard. The prosecution relies almost entirely on testimony that may be contradictory or ambiguous. We've already heard of the contradictory witness statements and stuff from people that were on the ground and part of the same patrol. So that's going to, I just honestly think that'll be huge in terms of the whole case across all 5 allegations of which RS is facing. Like, even if those blank poofters, those twats that have got immunity, that have sought immunity, but apparently want to see justice done, bloody cowards, even if they maintain their immunity or whatever it is, I just don't know. I haven't heard anything yet or seen anything yet that's going to convince a jury beyond reasonable doubt, that higher threshold apparently that is required for these sort of cases versus a defamation case, as an example. Anyway, operational logs that are euphemistic and non-specific. No independently verifiable physical evidence exists. This creates a scenario of word versus word, which is insufficient to meet the criminal standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt. The potential impact of PTSD further weakens the reliability of testimonial evidence. Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I'm no lawyer, but like I said, I think there's more in favour of the defence for RS than there is against it, especially with it going to this war crimes trial, whereby the prosecution again has to prove beyond reasonable doubt that RS is guilty of not one, but 5 counts of war crime murder. Or actually, they don't need to prove that he's guilty of all 5. If they just get him on one, that's a life sentence. So they just need to prove beyond reasonable doubt in the instance of one of those 5 counts of war crime murder that he's guilty, and he'll end up getting a life sentence. So, but how they're going to do that based on, I guess, what we know at this time, I don't know. Systemic context does not establish individual liability. Reports such as the Brereton report notes systemic failures in military operations. Such systemic issues cannot legally establish personal criminal liability without direct evidence linking the accused to a specific act. Conclusion, there is a clear evidentiary gap. No bodies recovered, no forensic evidence collected, no established crime scenes. Operational logs are vague, witness statements are uncorroborated, sometimes contradictory, and may be affected by trauma. Systemic findings cannot substitute for direct admissible evidence against the accused. Therefore, the defense submits that the charges against the accused cannot be sustained under the legal standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt. So this is one of the documents that one of the people that follows along with the channel has sent through, and that's it. There is another one. I won't worry about reading through that tonight. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow uh, at another time, possibly, or maybe I'll just leave it for next week, Monday. But interesting that this person has pumped into GPT all their questions that they've had, and I presume asked GPT to do a search, a scrape of the interwebs to identify, have we got information of the patrol logs? Do we know if the OSI has accessed at any time and or at any stage um, the scenes of which these allegations of murder have taken place? Is there any forensic evidence that's been collected? Sounds like there isn't. Is there any documentation of these 5 people, which RS has been charged based on the allegations? Is there any documentation showing in the after action reviews, in those reports, those patrol logs, etc., operational logs, I think it says in here, stating that there was and or that there is, stop sharing on there, that they were identified as POWs or anything like that? I don't know. I haven't seen the operational logs. I don't know that anything about operational logs has come out in the general public space or domain, probably for operational security reasons. Maybe that's some of the stuff that they discussed during the defamation case, whereby they think they had to go take certain things out of the public view and out of the view of and hearing of media. So maybe there is some operational logs and stuff which I presume would be utilized and brought into the trial if and when it goes to trial, um, and how they manage that with the jury needing to be able to hear all of the evidence, because if there's going to be some sensitive, secret, top secret information during that trial, which I presume there will be, especially if they're bringing in operational logs and other bits and pieces, then I would assume that the jury needs to be able to hear and see all of that stuff to be able to digest it in order to come to a conclusion in accordance with the justice system or the legal framework by which they're looking to abide by. So interesting times. We'll see how everything pans out, I'm sure. What's this? Dun, 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 dun. It does make sense, though. Yeah, I mean, reading that document, it's a GPT created document. There's some stuff in there, if not all of it, makes sense to me. But again, that's me being biased in support of RS. What have we got here? Seriously, war criminals that murder unarmed civilians need to be executed or jailed for life. Seriously, 9876. Man, if those things, seriously, I've seen you comment on some other videos before. If the allegations are true, yep, jailed for life is what they'll have in Australia. If he's found guilty of one of those 5, it's a life sentence, as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, I agree with you. It would be horrendous if those sort of things are happening, executing unarmed detainees. Um, yeah, but they're all allegations at this stage. They're all innocent. Well, RS is innocent until proven guilty anyway. And as far as I'm aware, Oliver Schultz, although his one looks worse in terms of the war crimes context, purely based on the Four Corners footage that it has of him shooting what appears to be an unarmed farmer in the fields. But it doesn't provide the context of the ROEs that they were operating under, the instructions and orders and intelligence that they received to go into that area, etc., etc. So Scott Jones has spoken about it on Sam Bamford's podcast. The lads aren't being sent into holiday destinations. They're being sent into what's the name of one of the ones in the reaction that I did today? The Valley of the Martyrs as one. They've been sent into in multiple reports, known Taliban hotspots. Um, so, which is what you would expect operators where you would expect operators to be sent. You wouldn't expect operators to be sent to a known friendly village to the coalition or supporters of. Um, you wouldn't expect them to be sent in there. You'd expect them to be sent to the places where there's some known baddies or bad people that are trying to hide out there and do stupid stuff. So yeah, that's the sort of places that the lads were being sent to at the time. What do we got? Dankard shot to the bro that put that together. Must have taken some time. I reckon, with his questions and stuff, so I would say anyone that murders anyone should be in jail. Yeah, valid points. Also, Dusty Gat, of course, Dan. Yeah, I think, well, Dan's just because we're not sure if seriously it's just talking about just war criminals that murder unarmed civilians. Not sure if he's just talking about in a war type setting. So Dan, I think, is just making that clear. Dusty Gat, Dusty Guns, um, or Dusty Gun. Anyway, anybody got any other thoughts on what was read there? Generated from GPT, by the way, with regards to what that person sent through. I found it interesting. It made sense to me. I honestly, even if I put my bias aside, based on the information of at least what I'm aware, one that RS has not been found guilty of war crimes, that there is contradictory evidence between eyewitnesses, both for and against RS. So those that are against RS, those that were also on the ground in the same patrols, in the same teams, in the same locations where these allegations of murder uh, are alleged to have taken place, are completely contradictory to each other. Some of those on the side of that are testifying against RS, as far as I'm aware, are suffering from diagnosed PTSD and are taking medication for that and have been taking medication for some time. So, however long that's been going on for, what sort of impact that has potentially had on them, and or maybe continues to have on them. Some of that document highlights some of the stuff that could be the case. Who knows? The lack of forensic evidence, bodies, no bullets, no forensic evidence, no nothing to support the prosecution. I don't know. To me, even if I set my bias aside in support of RS, if you are looking to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he is guilty of not only one but five of those, but at the end of the day, I think the prosecution, they'll be happy even if they just get him on one, unless they've got like some aces up their sleeve that hasn't been disclosed or wasn't potentially used in the defamation case or whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know how they prove beyond reasonable doubt. But at the same time, I acknowledge that the prosecution and those that executed the arrest, to try and publicly humiliate RS and is standing within the Australian visibility or view in public, I assume that they must feel like they've got a strong enough case to take him to court and to get a conviction on not one but five counts of war crime murder. So, you know, they must have something up their sleeve to be able to prove that. But again, I haven't seen or heard anything yet in the media and or in articles to suggest that they've got a slam dunk case in one, let alone five cases. What's that? That was interesting for sure. The more light we can shed on this witch hunt, the better. Yeah, I'm all for it. People have, like I said, like with this guy, like the guy Aaron Patrick that wrote the article that I did a reaction to. Which article was that one actually? I think it was the one where I was linking where Wankstein was bloody had a dream about RS or dreamt about murdering an Australian soldier first, and then dragged RS into his demented dream. So I think it was Aaron Patrick that wrote that article. However long ago I did that, not that long ago, and then he reached out just out of the blue. I won't give what is the handle through IG isn't Aaron Patrick. It was completely different. So yeah, that's what he chose to do and how he chose to reach out. If that is even him, I think it is him because of what he sent me and the information in one of the links. Um, so I won't go into detail with that. It's not for a well, it could be, I suppose. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter. Yeah, he sent me a link to a book that he wrote, which he said I might find interesting. So I probably would find interesting, but I'm probably not going to buy it. Not at this stage. What's this? Drawn by Daniel. Not keen on AI generated stuff myself. Yeah, that said, I haven't followed this closely, and I have no opinion on whether Robert Smith is guilty or not. That said, it concerns me on the immunity stuff. Yeah, like I mean, I've shared this on I think my other maybe my last live, maybe yesterday's live. I would be less inclined to be calling these guys what I call them, the retarded rejects, throwaways to four squadron, Blanken, cowards, etc., if these supposed witnesses, if especially if they're not serving anymore, said, "Here I am. This is what happened back then. I'm the person that carried this out. It was an unlawful command. It looked wrong. It sounded wrong. It felt wrong. I did it anyway. But this is what I did. And yeah, I want to see justice done. I'm prepared to, like Kevin Frost, rest in peace to that fella. I think he was a two commando guy. Like he said, are you prepared to go to jail if these allegations that you're, reporting are true? He said, yes, no hesitation. So if these guys were prepared to do that, like it would put things in a completely different frame for me in terms of me personally. May not change things for other people, but thinking, oh man, well, that's these people are showing their face knowing that there's going to be a bunch of people that may not like them for doing that. Takes a lot of courage to do that. You would think that if they were genuine and feeling sad about not showing and having courage to do this beforehand, like years ago, that they would have courage to do so now. But seems like they have the same level of courage, if you can call it that, by just wanting to stay in the shadows and in behind the scenes. And so still can't bring themselves to say, oh, this is what I didn't do because I was, if these allegations are true, because I was too scared because his dad was a judge or whatever. Um, yeah, lots to digest. But I don't think they're going to come out and do that. I'd be surprised if they do. Um, so yeah, I'll call them. I'll call them what I call them, uh, and yeah, whatever happens, happens. So we'll see how the trial and that plays out whenever it eventually happens. And if he is guilty, then he ought to face the consequences. 100%. 100%. I agree. Although if he isn't, hopefully this will be put to bed. I'd I'd like to think that, drawn by Daniel, but I don't know if it will be. I think we'll always have, like, for me, for starters, if he's found not guilty and like can't be proven, etc., and appeals and whatever get thrown out. Just like, to be fair, RS tried to appeal his defamation case 3 times. It got declined, and it got declined by the Supreme Court. So essentially, from what I understand, 4 times he tried to appeal his defamation case, and it got thrown out 4 times. So that there, based on that, I think is what a lot of the public or a lot of these hemorrhoid head 27s are basing their opinion on. They go, he's guilty, like has to be guilty. They wouldn't even hear the appeal. It was thrown out, etc., etc. But they forget that it's a lower burden of proof that's required for that. There's no beyond reasonable doubt, and he was never. It's on the balance of probabilities for that, which still again doesn't look or sound good, right? So some people, I suppose, could be forgiven for thinking, yeah, he's guilty, but he's not guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty. He has been charged with 5 counts, hasn't gone to trial yet, hasn't been convicted, so he's not guilty of anything. He's guilty of losing his defamation case. That's what he's guilty of in the eyes of the public. But he is innocent until proven guilty, until such time as that trial takes place, where that higher burden of evidence and proof is required, which now sits pretty much predominantly on the shoulders of the prosecution. They're the ones that have to show beyond reasonable doubt. They've got no forensic evidence. They've got these people's words against RS's people's words, who were also on the ground and also part of that patrol. We don't know what the operational logs show and or report. Do they report persons that were detained being executed, or do they report um, KIAs during their tasks and their jobs? Years after the fact, if I didn't already say, I think the forensic evidence stuff, I might have already said that. But there just seems to be lots of gaps holes, I think, anyway. So we'll see how the prosecution goes. But like I said, acknowledging the prosecution, I would assume would not carry out or issue an arrest if they weren't confident that they had the ability to get a result. And for them, getting a result is getting a guilty verdict on even just one of the 5 counts of war crime murder that they are charging him with. So, yeah, who knows? That said, guilty doesn't take away from the actions that saw him receive the VC. Yeah, doesn't like that. That sits there forever, unless one of those witness twats against RS tried to have it rescinded. I think it was the cowardly one that said we'll cover the rear, and he didn't like how he was reminded of being a coward by RS and no doubt some of the other lads. As an aside, Paul Brereton used to be my CO when I was a Choco corporal with 4-3, really, in the mid 1990s. What was he like then? Was he just as much of a twat then as he is now? Um, crazy, small world, small world. Dun, dun, dun. I think that's it for the comments and stuff on here. Seriously, 9876. I've seen some of his comments on some of my other reactions. First time, actually, is this the first time he's commented on a live? Maybe not. Doesn't comment too frequently. Maybe he's going to go and comment on some of my videos in the reaction space on the channel, possibly. But anyway, hopefully everybody has got. Oh, what are we? Thursday, eh? It's not even Friday. Is it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. Oh, hang on. Thursday, not even the weekend. I was about to jump the gun then. Hopefully your Thursday night is good and your tomorrow, Friday, is productive. It goes by quick so you can get to your weekend sooner and enjoy time with your loved ones or do the things that you want to do. So appreciate your fellas' time, appreciate your support and the comments, and look after yourselves, eh? And we'll see you. Well, you'll see me. I'll see you on the next one. And again, not sponsored by, but proud to support Waimanuka sparkling non-alcoholic lemon and honey beverage. Joe Hadaweda and the crew. Get you some if you haven't already. I'm still not thirsty, so I'm not going to crack that open. I've still got plenty more in the fridge. They're better. They are best served chilled, cold. So, mind you, the weather's been pretty chilly, even though there was some sun up today. It's still cold enough, so that does actually still feel quite cold enough to drink. So anyway, get yourself some of those as well, and you'll see me on the next one if you're around. Take care, peeps. Ka kits. Charlie 29.